Failure didn't just knock on his door, it broke it down. One moment, he believed he was ready. The next moment, he was standing in silence, watching everything he worked for collapse in front of him. No applause, no second chances, just disappointment. But what if that failure wasn't the end? What if the very thing that embarrassed him was secretly preparing him? Tonight, you'll see how one crushing defeat changed a boy's mindset, rebuilt his confidence, and turned his lowest moment into the greatest teacher of his life. Because sometimes, failure doesn't destroy you. It introduces you to the person you are meant to become. In this section, we introduce the boy and his big dream before failure happens. He is full of hope, confidence, and excitement about achieving something important in his life. The focus is on showing his emotional connection with his goal so the audience can relate to his ambition. This part builds attachment between the viewer and the character by showing that he was once just like anyone who believes in success. The section ends by creating curiosity about what will happen next, making the audience want to continue watching the story. In this section, the story reaches the major emotional shock moment. The boy faces a serious failure or rejection in public. The scene is described slowly and vividly to create strong emotional impact and retention. The purpose is to make the audience feel his embarrassment, disappointment, and sudden loss of confidence. Silence and shock are important elements here. The section ends by highlighting the heaviness of that moment, showing that this failure was not just a mistake, but a life-changing experience that would later become the foundation of his growth and transformation. In this section, we show the emotional consequences of the failure. The boy feels hurt, confused, and starts doubting himself. He spends time alone, thinking about what went wrong and whether he is truly capable of success. Negative thoughts begin to appear in his mind, such as feeling not good enough or worrying about others' opinions. This part is important because it makes the story realistic and emotionally relatable. The audience should feel his loneliness and internal struggle. The section ends by showing that he is stuck between giving up and finding a way to move forward. In this section, the boy initially reacts to failure by blaming external factors like luck, circumstances, or other people. This is a natural human response when someone is hurt or disappointed. He tries to protect his self-esteem by thinking that the failure was not completely his fault. However, this mindset keeps him stuck in negativity. The purpose of this section is to show the transition from emotional reaction to the audience begins to sense that the boy is slowly moving away from the victim mindset, preparing for the moment when he starts thinking differently about his failure. In this section, the story introduces the turning point of the character's mindset. Instead of continuing to blame circumstances, the boy asks himself a powerful and honest question: whether this failure might actually be teaching him something important. This simple but meaningful question shifts his thinking from fear and disappointment toward curiosity and growth. It marks the beginning of emotional and psychological transformation. The audience should feel that something inside him is starting to change, even though the external situation has not improved yet. This section builds hope and prepares the story for the improvement phase. In this section, the boy stops running from his failure and starts analyzing it carefully. Instead of feeling victimized, he tries to understand what went wrong and what he can learn from the experience. He reflects on his mistakes, weaknesses, and areas where he needs improvement. This is the maturity phase of the story, where pain becomes a source of learning rather than suffering. The audience sees a shift from emotional reaction to logical thinking. This section teaches that failure becomes valuable only when a person is willing to learn from it, instead of ignoring or fearing it. In this section, the boy begins improving himself through small but consistent actions. Instead of trying to change his life overnight, he focuses on simple daily habits like practicing, learning, or working harder on his weaknesses. There is no instant success yet, but progress is slowly becoming visible. This part of the story highlights the power of discipline and patience. The audience should feel that real growth doesn't happen through one big moment, but through repeated effort over time. The section ends by showing that although results are not visible, the boy is becoming mentally stronger each day. In this section, the story shows the boy's internal growth rather than external success. People around him may not notice the change, but he feels stronger, more focused, and more confident inside. He continues working quietly without seeking attention or validation from others. This phase represents true character development, where improvement happens through consistency and patience. The audience should understand that progress is not always visible immediately. The boy is no longer controlled by his failure because he has learned to accept it and use it as motivation to move forward with determination and self-belief. In this section, life gives the boy another chance to prove himself. This is the emotional and suspenseful moment of the story, because the audience is curious whether he will succeed this time or not. Unlike before, the boy approaches the opportunity with calm confidence and mental strength. He is not afraid of failure anymore because he has learned from his past experience. The focus is not on perfection but on improvement and courage. This section shows the result of his growth journey, where preparation, patience, and discipline help him perform better than before. The tension slowly starts resolving. In this final section, the story delivers its main motivational message. The boy realizes that failure was not punishment, but a teacher that helped him grow stronger, more disciplined, and more. He understands that success alone does not teach patience, resilience, or humility, but failure does. The message is directed toward the audience, encouraging them to stop fearing failure and instead learn from it. The story ends with an emotional and inspirational closing line that motivates viewers to rethink their relationship with failure and view it as a stepping stone toward personal growth and future success.